Yeah. So I think we kind of spoke about from that pivotal moment when you realize, hey, we need to go international, and then trying out different markets, building new partnerships, and then being successful somewhere, right? And then operationalizing it. But behind all this is really a leadership team that made it happen. And I'm sure there are so many other organizations in Sri Lanka and I mean, even in South Asia in general who wants to take their business outside their country. If you are to put a leadership team together, who can really make it happen? What kind of traits, qualities are you looking in that team?
Yeah, and I think to start with, again, Asankai, because again, I mean, when you're starting the process, right, you consider it more of a of a startup nature, right? You don't have the investment or the skill base to organize it the way you would really want to. Right? So you need to leverage what you have, who you have, and so on, right? But I think first part of that is that drive. You need that leadership drive to want to make it happen, right? And I think something that we really learned with time is that you need to be very patient and calm, right? Honestly, I was a bit over ambitious as well when you started, right? I think we have all this great stuff in our portfolio, skill sets, and all that. Thought within getting to 1 million, 5 million is going to be no brainer. It will happen very fast. Um, but then I think the realization that you're no one as soon as you go out of these waters, right, that suddenly kicks in. And so again, that's where I think those leadership traits of being calm, patient, be ready to reinvent, reimagine things. I think those are very key, right? And rework your plans, right? I think sometimes if things don't work, don't be possessive or just try to work, just rework the plan, right, and revisit all that and start from scratch if you need to.
Any advice in terms of like how to keep your leadership team motivated, especially when you're starting off? To your point, like, some of these feels like it's nothing. Like, we are doing a $2,000 transaction and we are probably spending $10,000 worth of effort towards that. Like,
I think it's also looking at some of the success stories out there. I think pretty much all companies who've done this have had those challenges, right? Unless you have a real groundbreaking product, right? The next Facebook or something that you're trying to
right.
cultivate outside of that your local market. It's always going to be a challenge, right? And there are a lot of companies, and even if you take the large Indian SIs, if you will, who have really done great over the years, gone into very significant operations. They started small. They started small. I think they went through similar challenges going to their first markets, but now they have very significant operations, probably the largest in the world. Some of them, right? I think those were, and that was motivation as well, right? How they started, and probably in a very short time we were able to scale, and that we have the foundation, but how do we make it happen? So let's be patient.
Wow. I'm just enjoying listening to you, Shawan. If you don't mind sharing,
Yeah.
along this journey, like what was perhaps your biggest failure or setback, and what did you learn from it? Or maybe if you had to do it again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't call it a failure, but I think where we were a bit too over ambitious in terms of timing and the time to see results. Right.
Hmm.
I think we put down those original plans. I think we put some numbers down. We presented it to the board. They also got excited. 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Start getting asked questions internally, and then from the board, where is this? Where is this? Where is this? Blah blah. Right. So what happened? You have the right people in place, and so on. And then at that point, that realization that we can't invest, we have challenges in investing to actually make this happen, that we didn't talk about the amount of investment that is required, and so on. Those are kind of forgotten. It's the results that become important, right? So I think being a little too over ambitious at the start was a learning. It's not a failure, but it was a learning. I mean, if we had to do it again now, I think spending a lot more time in terms of that planning, that strategy, right? I think making sure we have funding in place, right, and the right KPIs, and set the right expectations with even at a board level, right? That first year we probably will make a loss in this market, maybe the second year as well, right? But then at the end of it, we will have to start going exponentially once we get the foundation right. So I think that's where some of the learnings came in. And then if you have to do it again, I think we probably spend a lot more time in that planning element, planning and
Mm.
strategy.
Shawan, in this journey, especially in the early days, were there
Yeah.
any outstanding teams within Millennium MIT that stepped up and went above and beyond, what was expected of them?
Well, I think, as I said, I think there was a lot of excitement, right? There was a lot of excitement from a lot of people who really wanted to do this, who believed that, we can do this and we need this. So
Mm.
I think I think that's where, as a CEO, that gives me a lot of encouragement as well, right? I think we
Mm.
need that, right? I can't do it alone.
Yeah,
I might have the
yeah,
ideas, I want to do it, I might go and commit stuff to the board, but then I can't do it alone, right? I need the support from this team, and that's where I think we come this far. And I think the journey that we come here, because again, it was a lot of challenges, a lot of, when we set out the plans, presented to the board and all that, I think the economic crisis wasn't where it was, right? I think we didn't have an issue with the currency fluctuation, to travel restrictions, to all this in the country, right? So we were very ambitious and optimistic at the time, but then all these challenges hit us, right? But despite all of that, I think over a period of 2.5 years, we managed to grow from pretty much zero to 20% of our business now coming from overseas, of international markets, working with, I think, about 15 countries, with partners and customers in about 15 countries now, right? In a very short time, given all those challenges, right? And then it's the team that made it happen. I think we had challenges in getting the mindset right, and getting the right people to do the right things. But that's a learning that you go through, right, in all companies. I think I really have to give it to the team who really supported it, and made it happen. But I think we've been successful over the last 2.5 years now to set that foundation now, right, to go into new markets and scale it at a faster pace.
Yeah, amazing story. I have so many questions I could ask you, but I think we should probably wrap it up with some maybe quick questions. Um,
Yeah,
Shivan, ready for a rapid fire?
yeah, yeah, sure.
All right, maybe I will go first if that works.
Yeah.
Right, what is the one thing Sri Lankan companies should do before going international?
Yeah, I think be very clear in terms of what you want to take international, right? With what do you want to sell, what are the solutions that you have. And I think, I know it's rapid fire, but just to also add this, I think there are some markets that we go, I sit down in front of their CEOs and the executive teams, and we talk about the stuff that we've done in Sri Lanka, right? And they're excited, but they say, what do you have to do in this market? How can you port that into Sri Lanka, into this particular market? What solutions do you have for our market? Right? And then we look up and down at the time, because we've not done our research there, right? And those are early learnings, right? So I think that's where it will be very clear what do you want to take and how is it going to be applicable to that market, right?
that's a good one. Just to build on that, one thing that they should never do.
Yeah, I think don't rush it. Don't rush it. Don't go and investing. I've seen companies who go and hire people, get into partnerships, set up officers, nice officers, 10-seat officers, and so on. And then suddenly you start to realize that it's going to take you 2 years before you're going to get your, start breaking even, right. So don't rush it, right. Leverage on partner models, rotate your people that you have and so on, but don't rush it.
All right, slightly a different question, Shivan.
Yeah.
If you had to name a book, a role model, or even a moment that really shaped your global mindset, what would that be? Or who would that be?
Personally, for me, to be honest, my job at MIT was probably the first job that I worked for Sri Lanka, selling into Sri Lanka, right? Because my experience was in global markets before that, for all the jobs that I've done, right? I think for me, going global was something that had to be done, and then I think I had some experience there that kind of into the original plans that fed in, right? So I think that was kind of something that shaped the strategy and the plans into that, right? And obviously, you've seen. I think I can't name one book or one mentor, but then over the years, from the companies we worked with, the interactions that we had, so many case studies and stories and success stories that you followed, right? That feed into these plans. But I think the fact that I had experienced that for almost 2 decades before getting into this, I think was a realization that MIT also can do it, right? So that was it where I started.
Nice. Maybe last question. What's next for Millennium IT on the global stage?
I think rapid scale now, Roshan. I think we've set the foundation, a lot of learnings, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more learnings as well. I think over the years now, over the last 2.5 years now, we've set up how many? So we have offices now in Singapore, in Dubai, in Bangladesh. Just as you said, in Australia, we just set up now. Right? So we have, uh, I think, 5 global offices now, which you set up now over the last 3 years. I think we are working with about 15 countries, customers. But I think there's been a lot of significant learnings and experiences. I think we have what it takes now to set the foundation and scale from there. We're doing about 20% of our revenue from international markets now, right, and coming from pretty much 0 to 5%. And I think we have what it takes, but we want to push that to 40 to 50% and diversify as well, right, without being on one, 2 or 3 markets, because world dynamics, global trade is such that you never know what's going to happen in the next 2 3 years, right? So you need to be diversified enough to make sure you safeguard and protect the interests of the company. Right, so it's rapid scale, and I think we want to make sure. But also, I think we've also realized that we want to get into more premium markets. Right, I think again from learnings, and that's where Australia is one that we're targeting now, and will probably come your way soon as well. Right?
Sounds awesome.
Amazing.